Hi, I'm Anna.
And I'm Ben.
And we're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Mob Psycho, Season 1, Episode 5. Potentially Teru versus Mob, right? That's where we left off. Like, it seemed like a showdown potentially was going to happen because Teru picked the wrong day to mess with Goda. It wasn't intentional, but Goda was there, and he was the man, and they came to rescue their brother Mob. And all of those shenanigans and hijinks led to Mob untying himself, which he could have done the entire time. And now Mob, I don't know, what would you call it, a confrontation when he was like, you shouldn't be using your psychic powers on people?
Against other people?
Yeah,
I feel like there's definitely a few ways that this could go. I think we guessed, like, what if Ritsu shows up?
Correct.
Since Ritsu was a huge part of last episode. Kind of, they paralleled how he felt about Mob's powers with meeting Teru. And so Ritsu could show up. We could have Mob actually fight Teru, or we could have some comedic energy there with Mob refusing to fight, and Teru becomes a character that's constantly trying to challenge him.
Very true. We also have Dimple in the mix. We haven't seen Teru notice Dimple. I might be a little worried that Dimple tries to take control of Teru.
Ooh, I mean, Dimple is looking for an opportunity to either possess Mob and or get Mob to agree to take over the world with him.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm liking the show so far. I'm ready to see where it goes this episode. You ready?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Black Vinegar Private Middle School.
Oh, Dimple's out.
Has he never met another one?
Are you a natural?
Are you its master? Hierarchy.
45. 47.
47!
The hierarchy here.
Well, Teru is the
Main
shadow
character.
leader of his Black Vinegar middle school gang.
We also had the moment of him last episode being like, I'm the main character of this story.
Oh, yes! I completely forgot about that. He thinks he's the main character. Oddly enough, I feel like there's things that I just saw in this opening that I hadn't noticed before. And I don't know if either I just didn't notice them or they were new. We have some battle music.
Honestly, Mob's a megalodon, bro. He's not a shark. Huh.
So he could do it, but he gets nauseous.
Psycho fist. Hell yeah. Who is this? Who is this wise person?
I just had a guess.
That makes complete sense.
I mean, he did say that Reagan was
Reagan.
the one that told him not to fight people with his psychic powers. It's like I didn't want that to be Reagan speaking there.
I knew it was gonna be Reagan. Just so wise. Damn.
Why is he so violent?
I'm worried that Mob's gonna get nauseous.
And that's what's gonna happen.
Oh.
Dimple's gonna defend him?
エクボ一かけらも残さず根元からね除霊された
He was starting to like having Dimple there.
Their time together was short-lived, but it was substantial.
Was this Mob having his first friend?
It might have been.
Oh my god.
It's really good music.
Right, because his emotions are kept with cap on him.
僕の前では所詮三流お前は大物になるぜ俺様が保証するこんな自分でも努力すれば何かになれるってね
Do you see his eyes?
なんだよお前その顔はなんで小物とか
That expression has emotion in it.
だったのかもしれないと気づいただけあんたと比べてみてなんだといつまでも余裕面でいられると思うんだ
It kind of looks like he has to pee.
Oh.
Is like he okay with killing someone?
Oh, that animation. That's the first time we've heard Mob say like ow, right?
Yeah. Oh, come on. I'm glad he said that though.
Top percentage.
0%.
I thought for a second like the knife just split his head in half, like it just cut through it, but this is much worse. Whoa.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Enemies. He looks like he's getting either tired or fed up. He's gone all this time unchallenged.
You wonder if Mob's hurt someone before, you know?
It's obvious that Mob knows that he is very, very strong.
Oh! They just keep zooming in.
Mob is the hairs on his bald head.
That was a crazy visual. That's not using powers. Jesus.
He really would kill him.
Oh no.
No, no, no!
僕たちのお年玉返してよ。
Is this it?
リツ
Oh no.
兄さん変わる使わないおい起きろよ待て僕を置いてくな
と花沢照樹ついに決着がつかなかった拒絶し合った結果勝者はなく虚無感のみがかに思えた
なんだやっとや結局お前も信念を貫けないんだ最大マンや影山
This is different than when he used 100%.
てめえも人に向けて使ってんじゃねえかこいつ意識がないのかじゃあなんだよ
He's unconscious.
山に吸い込まれていやそれだけじゃ膨大な器を持っていたのか
触れてはいけない何かを感じて
That must never be touched.
一室内不明
Oh,
Oh my
fuck.
god, he could end the world! Oh my god.
凡人だったんだな
モブはすぐに悟った人ができなかった
Oh
また超
no.
能力で事故を起こして感情をぶつける先が見つからない矛盾をはらむ無力感に飲まれる悲しみに対するささやかな抵抗であった
Did he put everything back together?
He put it all back together.
服とかごめん待て影山いたぞあそこだあいつなく処刑されてるぞあいつら君の言った通りだ超能力を取ったら何も
影山くんおい影山怪我はないのか今日はもう帰ってスクワットだ
言い訳できないな
3時間ほど探したが結局エク
あ
ボは見つからなく
He looked for Dimple for 3 hours?
おかえり風邪ひくよ今日は遅かったねご飯は
もう寝るよ
なんか元気ないね何かあったら相談に乗るからね
リツあの時はごめんね
あの時僕のパーカーのフードに入った時
いや超能力の事故の時どうしても思い出せないんだリツに何をしたんだろう
ああ高校生に絡まれた時のね兄さんには何もされてないよ
Is that a
不
lie?
良が僕を兄さんは僕を守ってくれたんだよことじゃない
Do you hear the music?
That and his hand tightened on the
Mhm.
handle.
雷雨激しい長見市の空にて情報が相次いでおります上昇する瓦礫の中まだ被害者の特定及び
あの時
てめえはどいてる
He was unconscious.
Yeah. Fuck.
あれは兄さんじゃなかった
He believes there's something inside of him, right?
風邪をひいた
So, does Ritsu think that Mob's a vessel for some evil?
Okay, that was Mob Psycho, season 1, episode 5. It reminded me of like an Aluka Nenika or like Hunter x Hunter, like Killua's sister. I don't fear Mob when he hits 100. I am utterly terrified of Mob when
At
he's not
question
conscious.
mark percentage.
Yeah. The way that like the whole scene was conveyed was so like compelling. Like I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. Like you would see want to know what was strangely really compelling? Mob punching.
Yeah.
He would rather die than consciously lose his conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And him, like, when the countdown glitched out, that was utterly terrifying. where was it?
Think
Right.
about how strong his conviction is that no matter what, if he's conscious, he can somewhat control his outburst of emotion at 100. But it must be terrifying for him to know that there is a circumstance where he can't even affect it at all.
Like the graphic of when the percentage went away, it looked like a television turning off. Like it looked like it was the consciousness fleeting. Does Mob sleep? Because if I was Mob, I'd be terrified to fall asleep and not be conscious. Because we don't know if it's like, it doesn't seem to me like it's like a mix of a lack of consciousness and motivation to do something. It seems to me as just a lack of consciousness. Really? Like both times we saw it in the flashback and then here, it obviously came from a emotionally motivated like instance, but in both times he was knocked unconscious.
Yeah, I think I was pegging it as he reaches 100% and then goes unconscious.
He didn't reach 100%.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, huh?
Right?
No,
Oh.
so the number stopped and turned off. He had this outbreak. After this other self took over him and did all this destruction, he then reached 100%. And it was derived from sadness. And with that 100%, he fixed everything.
So you're right. We don't really know if it's purely just when he's unconscious. I mean, does he need to sleep? He's definitely not a normal, average, natural human. So maybe he doesn't really need to sleep.
Or maybe he can't. Like, maybe like he's not able to. Because he knows, or he knows something bad will happen. Teru sensed in there something that must never be touched. That's haunting. That's haunting, dude.
I was getting frustrated with Teru, but in a way where I could understand why he was being so violent and like really trying to trigger Mob into action. Because if he's spent his whole life feeling like he is the most interesting person in the world, that he's the only one who actually has these real psychic powers, and he can gain all of these things from that, friends, people giving him cookies on Valentine's Day, and then to meet someone who actually has powers too is like an attack to the person he has built himself to be his entire life. It's almost like what he thought and what he about himself was like completely, the rug was ripped out from under him. And I'm sure that was very like scary for him to have to confront the possibility of him not being the center of the universe.
He literally was met with somebody who had the same options as him and didn't use it. It's like what you say, pulled the rug out from under him to show him what Mob said. Mob hit the nail on the head. Like they were the same in the sense of just being average. They were nothing. He was nothing without his powers.
That if both of them lost their powers that day, there would be nothing special about them.
Yep. So we had the scene with the knives where Teru explicitly thought to himself that he had no intention of harming Mob.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that too.
I'm very glad that scene happened and that dialogue happened.
I might have thought to myself and or said out loud that I was glad that he said that. Because I was getting a little worried. I was like, is he trying to like kill him? Like, is he okay with that? Is he okay with that? Because
we don't really know Teru, but like
we know he like beats people up with his powers, but I don't think we've ever heard him to be a murderer. So
I'm very glad he said that on one hand, but on the other hand, he choked Mob out. Like and then my favorite line of the episode was Teru saying, "Wait, don't leave me behind." I was like, holy shit, dude, Teru's a great character. Like, that's awesome.
Teru's reaction, not only to having realized that he actually choked Mob into unconsciousness, and then how he reacts to Mob's %, and then how he reacts afterwards in terms of the body improvement club coming up and him being like, there's nothing I can say. It was like, obviously in terms of like how we feel with Mob right now, our energy is really sad. Like, I really felt that sadness at the end. Like, I wanted to cry when Mob started crying on the ground. I wanted to cry.
I have fear of Mob, as not like as his personality, but as a character. Like, I feel like, and it's all basically derived from Ritsu, because now I'm like, this is like the fucking Truman Show, bro. This is like everybody's walking on eggshells, seemingly. Who knows Mob, right? Ritsu is like, oh, let me know if you need to talk to anything, like talk to me about anything, and then like, oh yeah, are you hungry? Like, imagining Ritsu leaving that room and then his whole smile like floods, like just vanishes from his face, and he's just terrified and like, oh my god, I can't do one wrong thing or I'll see that monster come out and hurt me.
I didn't feel 100% that his actions are in order to not trigger Mob into the terrifying change. Because I do feel like he does look up to his brother and he is a little jealous of his brother's powers. But I think the issue is that he thinks that there's something inside of Mob, that he's probably angry that this thing would take over his brother. He probably feels for his brother. He probably worries about his brother.
I think he does to a degree, but like the way that like the dialogue here, and then you pointed out like his hand shook. Like
you hear a sound of him like kind of tighten his hand on the handle.
And it was right at the time that I think he tried to avoid the question with like the jokingly backpack thing, right? And then he like clenched a little bit on the handle when he said, "Oh, you mean when those high school kids picked a fight with us?" I take that as fear, like thinking back what that was like. And I also don't believe Ritsu when he says, "You didn't do anything to me."
Well, I don't believe that either.
Yeah.
But I didn't take that response as a fear response.
Gotcha.
I took it as I don't want to make my brother know that he hurt me.
Okay, that's fair.
But we're both just like grasping at evidence from the show to kind of figure out how Ritsu actually feels about Mob.
It's like, whatever that is inside Mob, it's like, it obviously seems to activate when he gets hurt or when he could become unconscious, but I can't decide if it's an unconscious thing or a defense mechanism. Or it just so happens to be both.
Could be both.
It's a very scary thing. I didn't think we were gonna go there. Like,
Get the flashback of why Mob is so careful with not using his psychic powers against people.
Yeah, like seeing like the start of it and then seeing the blood like earlier in the episode, that like had me.
And by the age and how they looked, it's obvious from the flashback of hearing Reagan talk to him that Reagan must have met up with maybe the family took him to Reagan because Reagan says he's a psychic.
I mean, best person you could take him to.
Yeah, like maybe that's how they met, is after that event. His parents were worried about him and thought maybe he needed to better control his powers or try to get rid of them. And so took him to a psychic to help. And that ended up being Reagan. Which Reagan's speech was amazing, by the way.
Thank you. See, I think you just have a negative bias to Reagan because you don't like him for God knows what reason. But
yeah, there's no reason.
When he is sat behind glass and you can't see who he is, it's like frosted glass, not actual glass. You can see through that. When you can't see who Reagan is and he's silhouetted and then just hear the man's words. Everybody loves him. How could you not?
All I could think was, please don't be Regan speaking right now. I think we will find out how Ritsu actually feels about his brother. I just have, in my vibe, is that he sees his brother as separate from whatever this thing is that happens to him after unconsciousness.
I wonder how deep this show goes, because, like, at the moment, it's just, like, I'm taking it like I took the first season of One Punch Man, like, oh, funny, action, right? Mm-hmm. But they could definitely go into, like, a more story-heavy, what is this thing that is inhabiting Mob?
This episode, I didn't expect to be emotionally, like, affected. I mean, like you said about the fight between Taro and Mob, like, you couldn't take your eyes away from the screen. Mm-hmm. I felt that, too. Mm-hmm. And I felt very emotional upon Mob's realization of what he had done. And I felt emotional seeing Mob's flashback of what happened. And also, some of the things Teru was saying to Mob were also very deep.
Yeah.
So I feel like this show is definitely going to really go down the route of, like, true internal feelings, humanity feelings. Like, yeah, we've seen, like, loneliness and or feeling slightly like he's not living his best life. Mm-hmm. But now we're getting into, like, deeper,
which is
like your
exciting.
Existence in this world, and are you the main character? But deeper than that.
Just thinking more about, like, the Ritsu thing at the end, it could, like, I could see a story where Ritsu feels like he just, first instance of it was with 3 bullies or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Next instance of it, you saw, like, a video of a school being torn apart. Mm-hmm. Couldn't you see a route where if you had the knowledge of this potential catastrophic event in front of you, you would feel the need to try to stop it? Could you see a potential storyline where Ritsu tries to kill Mob? Like, for the greater good?
Oh, before you said that, in my head I was like, oh, is Ben gonna say that maybe that's why Ritsu wishes he has powers, is so that he could stop Mob if Mob ever did that again? But you're like, no, he's gonna kill him. And I was like, oh. Maybe.
Not that I think he could. I'm just saying, like...
I mean, he might try to... he might be thinking of what he could do to stop
because
Mob.
The flaw in, like, what I was originally thinking is that it's only Ritsu who really knows, other than Teru now.
I'm sure they lied to his, like, Mob's parents, after it happened. I'm sure Ritsu protected Mob.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, if Ritsu's the only one to really know what this, like, this power can do, and then he just saw this and connected it to Mob, then, like, I don't know. I wanted to go through some of the lines that Regan was saying.
Okay. Can I say one thing before we do that? I just wanted to talk about the killing him one last time.
Oh, okay.
I would just hope that if that was something that happened, that Ritsu felt like he needed to do, I would hope that it was less out of, this is an evil thing and I need to protect it, like, the planet from this thing, and more like, I don't want Mob to have to live with knowing that he destroyed or killed all these people. That's what I would hope.
Yes.
That it's a little more, like, loving and not like, my brother is the devil. I don't know.
I'm not saying they do that. That's not, like, an actual guess. It's just, like, that's a potential outcome from, like, what my takeaway from this episode.
I don't think it's, like, a weird place to go.
Yeah. This episode kind of turned everything on its head for me.
It's definitely changing.
Yeah.
Everything a little bit.
I don't know, man.
I mean, we now know why Mob doesn't want to use his powers against other people. So that in itself even changes how we see him.
We know Mob doesn't want to use his powers against other people. I wonder how much Mob knows. Like,
Mob doesn't even know what he did there. You're right. Like, what does he know?
Does he have... what does he think? Like, oh, I blacked out and something happened? Because he's conscious and knows when he hits 100%, right? But he has no memory. He had to ask Ritsu what happened then. He has no idea of what is potentially inside of him.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Reagan's wise, inspirational words.
Of course, I mean, yeah, everything he says. But people who are fast, people who sing well, people who are book smart, people who are good at talking, and people who can use psychic powers. You can't put one over the other. Being confident about your powers is fine, but you mustn't get conceited. Depending on how we use our powers, they can also be deadly weapons. They're just like knives. What are you not supposed to do with knives? Point them at people.
Which is what happened later,
So
which
you
is
do
perfect.
that. Yeah, right? Make sure that's the moral code people like us with special powers need to live by. I am still regardless, I love Reagan as a character so far. There is a fleeting hope within my heart that everything that he says is true, and he is somehow so far above every other psychic character in the show that he just can't even like comprehend like or relate to what everybody else is doing. I love him so much. I also am really fucking sad about Dimple. I'm devastated.
I mean, like, Mob was so, to us, to the viewer, unaffected visually by Dimple to, like, a great regard. Like, he was like, oh, sorry, I killed your friend, and are you really upset about it? And Mob was like, not really, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes and looks for him for 3 hours? Like...
You said it at in the episode. As subtle as it is, there is a massive change in expression by Mob after hearing Teru talk shit about Dimple. Like his eyes become
we pointed it out.
Slightly.
They look a little more... It's like nothing has changed with how he's drawn, but he looks like he's showing a little more emotion than before.
It's not just like blank expressionless. It's like just a little bit of annoyance and like, what the fuck? Which
is so interesting that you can show us some like emotion on such a very... a face that's purposefully supposed to look non-emotional.
Well, and Teru even, like, recognizes it, right?
Mm-hmm. What's with that look?
And it's, like, it's that micro expression.
See, I thought that Mob's face situation, you know how we saw him at 100 with the dimple and, you know, that whole fight? And his face was definitely more lively and more filled with expression.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, maybe that thing from his childhood is when he started suppressing all of this. But in that flashback of him with his brother as a kid, it seems like as a kid, he just tried to keep it all back anyway, even though he hadn't seen the extent of what he could do.
Well, there's a difference there. It wasn't him doing it.
He was trying to block his 100.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the shit that did happen. Which, right after this line, I wanted to skip ahead to see, like, what the face we saw in the, like, matte, like, palette knife, charcoal looking, like, I don't know, it looked so cool. But, like, when Mob, like, looks a little bit more annoyed to Teru, he kind of snaps in the sense of, like, reality. Like, he's like, hey, why do you have to belittle others by calling them average or small fry? Like, he gets really, like, real, you know? I just realized that he might actually have been an okay guy, that's all. Like, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Aww. We got that little montage of their, like, day-long friendship.
One thing that I'm trying very hard to digest it in the way that's intended. I'm still trying to find a good balance, because it goes from very serious to incredibly comedic shots within the same moments.
Yeah,
like a very serious shot and scene but the art and things that are happening to the character, like Teru being stripped, is hilarious. So it's like, I don't really know how to feel.
I don't either. I was actually like, when he was flying up in the air naked, I was like, I shouldn't be like laughing by how this is kind of funny. And he never once like acknowledges the fact that he's naked. He's not embarrassed by it. Like nothing.
I love the narrator. This is another like fun fact, I guess, that we are learning. We had already previously known that blue stroked and shadowed text emphasizes or means a flashback. So seemingly the same thing, but with red
is a narrator.
Drop shadow as narration. Or so it seemed. And then
this shocked me.
It really did. It's really
how
really
it's drawn
scary.
Is so cool.
See, it's like oh my god, that's so terrifying.
And it's glitching the question marks over his mouth.
And like this is what I mean, because I'm feeling like at this moment I am kind of scared. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And then we see Teru's clothes being stripped, and I want to laugh, but I want to like cry.
Or be terrified.
Yeah.
When it was still kind of funny and not serious, I had said that some of the leg positions he does when he's using his powers looks like he has to pee. But then I'm like, oh, he's about to get his butt kicked.
I like Teru's like realization here, right? That it's not Mob, you know? What the hell is this power? His hair is more Medusa here than it was when he used 100%.
And he's sucking in the powers from Teru and basically from the atmosphere.
When you say he's sucking in the powers from Teru and this is the shot that's on the screen of his energy being pulled from...
He said it at the time that it's on the screen, Benjamin.
Oh my god. All the energy in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. That's fucking frightening.
He's a vessel. How
maybe.
Can his or more just he has an immense power within his vessel and not like he has.
Does that okay? What about the thought that like
this isn't like Naruto or anything, you know? So
well, what do you think about the thought that like Teru, for example, what makes him psychic is a being within him, and that being within him would be the vessel. Like, what if he's saying, are you telling me his vessel is able to handle this much? What if I think that my assumption would go to Mob's the vessel. But what if he's saying, like, his vessel's able to handle this much? Like, the inner psychic being inside of him is just so strong. Like a Ryomen Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be getting. Like, am I supposed to be getting that this is, like, a different being and not Mob?
Oh.
I know, it's so freaking scary when it switches to, like, the charcoaly palette knife.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how else to describe it.
Open mouth, like, black eyes.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
It's terrifying.
Something incomparable, its identity unknown. A power that is... It's unidentifiable or a being that is unidentifiable.
I would assume a being. It could be both,
but
honestly,
Dimple
easily.
wanted to possess Mob.
Maybe Dimple didn't even know to the extent. Dimple never saw this.
Dimple couldn't know, too. Because maybe it's so... Remember how Mob's, like, aura is undetectable, basically, to other psychics? Like, Teru didn't even notice that Mob was there. Mob's just so powerful that you can't even truly sense it.
It's so interesting, like, because throughout this moment, Teru, it's not like he's scared and just saying this. He instantly, like, realized, like, to his core that he has nothing. I was on the verge of tears here. Like, it didn't take long for Mob to realize... And then his percentage is ramping up.
I like look at his freaking face crying, guys. How could you not get sad watching that? I literally was tearing up.
He caused another accident because of his psychic powers. And it's very interesting that it's like...
he just gets down on the ground. I'm like...
He didn't know where to direct his
emotions. I wanted to comfort him. And everything's just
what a good
falling
line.
From the sky.
He was overwhelmed. His powerlessness born from contradictions. Oh,
He's filled with power, but he's powerless to truly control it.
the feeling that he would never be able to conquer himself.
Conquer him. So, okay, well, that wording makes you think that it is him and not some other being.
But there's two different entities. Like, look, sadness. Like, last time we got, like, an emotion. Rage. And, like, so it's like he goes with one emotion here. It seemed like it was just fucking its own monster when it went blank.
Well, maybe it is its own... his emotions are its own monster. His emotions are so strong that they become their own thing. Like, why did it make me think of that? Like, is it a Pixar movie where all of your emotions, like, inside your head?
Inside Out?
Inside Out. Maybe it's kind of like that. Like, all of his emotions are so strong, they basically have their own, like, identities.
I like that a lot. I wonder if I don't. Is there like a conscious effort? Is he more in control when he's out of control? Like he has straight up intent here to be able to rebuild a school.
This was Mob's meager attempt at resistance towards himself.
Interesting. Because this is full consciousness, you know?
Mm-hmm. But to him, it will never be enough. Even though he put everything back to the way it is, and no one is dead, and no one is horribly injured, it still isn't enough to make up for the fact that he lost control.
The scene where it said Mob searched for about 3 hours, but he couldn't find Dimple was heartbreaking. I was so sad.
Okay, here's a question. I thought Dimple was just gonna be like a part of things now.
Me too.
So do you think Dimple's gonna show up, or do you think Dimple's gone?
I really hope he's not gone.
Well, you know what they say about spirits sometimes? Like that you could, like, they're in a realm. You know, like maybe Mob could get to that realm and bring Dimple back. I don't know.
Very true. That being said, Teru was the one who exorcised him or something here. I'm not sure. Favorite episode so far? Distant episode 3, but this is definitely there.
I think this episode showed us that this isn't purely just going to be an artistic, filled with artistic expression and comedy and fun enemies show.
Yeah.
And that there's actually going to be some deep thoughts.
I like that.
Deep thoughts.
Some meat.
Some meat to the show. Some meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.